Hello, Mr. Vlastimil. My name is Shamile Solea. I'm a Munisa press officer. It's great to see you today, and thank you for having a time to speak with me today. Could you please briefly summarize your experience working for the UN before coming to Kazakhstan?
Well, let me first of all express my sincere gratitude to the school for inviting me for this event. It's indeed a great pleasure and honor. And let me also congratulate all the students, teachers, and the families with the wonderful celebration of Nowruz Kutlu Olsun. And responding to your question, it's a long story. I'll try to make it brief. Actually, my attachment to the United Nations in various ways has started much longer or much earlier before I have joined, because I was working in my country's diplomatic service, and I have been serving in various countries. And in those countries also there are the UN offices. So I have been, due to the nature of my work, also interacting with them. We are having some sort of cooperation, exchange of views, and so on and so. And that was perhaps one of the reasons when I have later on decided that it would be quite interesting to join the United Nations. As a result, back in 2006, I have joined the United Nations. Then I have got assignment to Kazakhstan. Then I was reassigned to Indonesia. Then I have had the very unique, I would say, opportunity to return to Kazakhstan. Then I was again reassigned to Pakistan. And then back in 2019, I have, for the third consecutive term, had the opportunity to return again to Kazakhstan. That's the story in brief.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Could you also kindly inform our audience about the main responsibilities and the mission of the UN Information Office in Kazakhstan, as well as your position as a representative of UN Global Communication Department?
Okay. Perhaps I should start from the name of the department, because when it has been officially established back in the late 40s, that's one of the oldest departments of the United Nations Secretariat. It was having a different name, Department of Public Information. Only very recently, a few years ago, it has been changed to Department of Global Communications to reflect also the changes and challenges of the 21st century, because the 21st century is indeed the century of communications, of the new approaches of the social media. So logically, the United Nations as such also has to react to these new developments. As for the United Nations Information Office or Center, our office here in Kazakhstan is part of the network of the United Nations Information Centers that have been actually established at the same time when that time Department of Public Information has been actually created. And they were actually, and they still are, serving as the essential or the first source of information about the United Nations, what the UN is doing, what is the mission, what is the agenda. Of course, we are responsible for the wide range of not only information to be shared, but also activities, communications activities, advocacy, outreach, just to name a few. And this is also one of the major tasks of the United Nations Information Office based here in Kazakhstan.
Also, could you please tell us about some of the SDGs that have been specifically prioritized during the last 5 years, if there are any?
Well, again, we should see the SDGs in the complexity, and that it's a part of some sort of bigger arrangement. If I take as a bit back to the history, the sustainable development as such is based on the Millennium Declaration signed in 2000. Then there was the first phase for the first 15 years. That was called Millennium Development Goals, MDGs. There were 8 of them. Of course, not all of them could have been fully achieved because this is not how it works. The most important thing is the moving forward and kind of trying to sustainably kind of develop the world around us. So the next phase is called Sustainable Development Goals. Based on the previous experience, there are more of them. They are more focused. They have many subcategories. There are already 17 of them. I would say that perhaps the most kind of expressive one is the number 17, that is asking everyone to join. Because if we want to achieve something, we have to work together. It's about the teamwork. And despite of the COVID, which unfortunately has affected the achievability of some of the SDGs, we still have 8 years to go because, as you know, this phase shall conclude in 2030. I think despite of all the challenges the world is facing, we are actually really mobilizing and trying to move faster forward. This is also a call for the young generation like yourself, because in 2030, you will already be working somewhere. You'll be a future leader, as we like to say, because the future belongs to the young generation, and it will be your task. So at this moment, it would be perhaps premature to specify where we are faster or where we are slower, because again, it's a complex. But it would be good to meet you in 8 years again, in 2030, replay the discussion we are having today, and to see what has been achieved, to what extent, and what is actually perhaps to be continued in the next phase, because my assumption is that in 2030, when this cycle will conclude, there'll be another phase, another 15 years. And if I use the simple logic, the United Nations has been established in 1945. So if we take another 15-year cycle that will begin in 2030, it will conclude in 2045. And it will be exactly 100 years from the time when the United Nations actually have been established. So it will be very symbolic. So let's wait for that. You'll be the lucky one, I hope, to see more thriving and interesting achievements in the development of the human civilization. And I hope sustainable development, because that's important. I mean, being here in the city of Aktau, we see, for example, how important is the environmental focus, right? And then, again, it's related to many other things. Education, health, decent jobs. And suddenly you see that all these 17 goals somehow are playing an integral part of this bigger picture, right? Thank you.
Okay, thank you as well. Also, could you connect your experience with our today's conference theme, which is food security? And could you also tell us about if you notice any differences in how countries, including Kazakhstan, are dealing with this global issue?
Well, you're asking a very logical question. And food security as such is of paramount importance and should be, indeed. Why? Because the food security is about the environment, it's about the stability, it's also about the political issues, it's about health, it's about decent jobs again, And all this we put under one umbrella of sustainable development. And I think the topic has been very rightly chosen, because usually the model United Nations are addressing issues of international security, human rights, and somehow this food security issue is being invisible. And if we put the things together, we finally see that the food security is also related to the human rights, and it's also related to the international security issues, right? And we see that any instability is actually affecting also the access to the secure resources of the food. And the environmental pollution is affecting the food security as well, and safety. And if you put all these things together, then you will perhaps congratulate yourself and all the participants of the Model United Nations here in Aktau, how actually on time you are seeing the bigger picture, and how actually properly you are actually addressing these global issues. Because the UN is also having one interesting slogan: think globally, act locally. So while reflecting the global issues, I'm certain you are also seeing the role of your country in this very important issue, how to achieve the food security, how and when, if possible.
Okay, thank you. Could you tell us about which are some initiatives that UN has undertaken in the field of this problem, food security?
Well, we have Food and Agriculture Organization, which is, I think, all the time trying to kind of focus and to bring new solutions, specifically how the member states should deal with the quality production, how certain standards should be followed. And again, if I kind of reformulate what you were asking, we should perhaps not forget that the issue of the food security is not only a challenge for the member states, but it's for every single citizen of this planet. For you, it's also about the human behavior. Yeah. If I answer your question by asking you a question, if I may, how you as a student, as a citizen of your country, how, first of all, you see your role in achieving the food security. Second, how the UN is doing it well, or where perhaps the UN could do better. May I ask you such a question?
Sure, yeah, it is definitely connected to how students, not students, but just any citizen act and their kind of like view on this issue. So definitely maybe the first thing that comes to my mind is what we're doing today actually, which is like conferences, being vocal about it, being aware and trying to share this awareness, trying to share this problem with others in order to make sure that more people will know about this country, about this issue, and try to...
Challenge.
This challenge, yeah.
Because it is a challenge, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And take actions towards solving this problem.
And sharing the best practices is the best way.
Sure.
And then part of actually the agenda of the Model United Nations was the ancestral. It means about the international trade and law. That's additional thing. Because if you want to achieve success and sustainability, you should also have rules and you should follow them.
Yeah. as a delegates today, for example, in the conference, we were sharing our own knowledge and trying to come up with different solutions and like rules that the governments or like non-governmental communities could establish in order to achieve their goal to solve this problem.
See?
Yeah.
I should be asking the questions and you should be answering them.
No. Okay, so the last question would be
Yes,
about what advices could you give to students who are interested in working for the UN or in the field of diplomacy one day?
Well, as I'm of the opinion that I don't give anyone advices, because I think that every single person, she or he, is always smart enough to know what she or he wants to achieve. I may share my opinion. Is it okay?
For sure.
No advices, I may share my opinion. What is important that once you want to achieve something, you focus, you get as much information as you can. What is quite easy because we live in the 21st century, the century of information technologies and full access to information. And do some research where you study, where you plan to study, what you want to study, how it is related to the subject you would like to achieve in the future. So when we talk about the working for the international organization like the United Nations or the National Diplomatic Service, then we talk about the, I would say, certain form of motivation. And you are now actually at what grade of your school?
11.
And after that you plan to go to the university?
Yeah, we've got the 12th grade and then to the university.
Yes. So this school is actually a grade that is preparing you for your future. I would say not job yet, but for your future as such. So you decide this on next year, what would be the university where you want to study and what subject. So if you choose the international relations and international trade, you're already kind of showing yourself a certain direction you want to go. And then, of course, during the course of studies, you do the research. I mean, at that time, in what specific agenda you would like to continue? Politics, trade, economics, human rights, humanitarian issues. There's quite a variety, actually, of topics. And based on that, after you finish the university, you'll already know whom you would like to approach to consider you as a potential employee. Yeah? But starting from now, and that's one of the also, I would say, essential, I would say, sort of tasks for the United Nations model, to provide the young students like you with the opportunity to already kind of think about the future steps. You're already preparing yourself for the future now. So just continue and never give up.
That's yeah.
That's what I would like to wish you and all your wonderful colleagues, and that it's about the intellect. That's why you are at the intellectual school, right?
I guess so, yeah.
Is it logical?
For sure, yeah.
Very logical. And once again, thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you so much.
And may I conclude with wish?
Of course.
Hope to see you in 2030.
I hope to see you as well. Thank you. That was our last question, and also I would love to show our appreciation towards everything what you're doing to Munisa, and thank you for having the time to give this interview.
The pleasure was mine. Thank you.
Thank you.